Yeah. Or hey, how you guys doing? So this is Neil, and I'm gonna be going through here real quick. I was debating on two different pinups. Anyway, we're gonna go through a pinup process of. I already did the sketching part. I've done a lot of videos like that where sketching different stuff out, and I think it's just kind of boring to watch. But I'll go briefly here a little bit about my inking process, and then after she's inked, I'll go ahead and show you how to color. And this is a really cool way to color with Clip Paint Studio or Clip Studio Paint EX. The EX part really, the main thing it allows you to do is have multiple folders for comics and also the new animation thing, which is really cool. I'll be showing you guys how to do cell animation. If you guys are into that, it can be used for video games and other kinds of things, or just animation in general. I find animation very tedious, but it's kind of cool sometimes. All right, so this is the basic idea I have here for the sketch. It's just a typical pinup. Yeah, so there's some nudity in this, so if you're not 18, then maybe you don't watch it. And then I was debating whether or not to do this character here. She has like two scars on her face here, and this other scar, well actually three scars, one's here, one down here. She's kind of like can control fire. She's like got fire going around her hair, and just fire. She's kind of coming out of fire. This is just an idea, and she's kind of like shooting fire and fire magic out of the other hand. And still not sure what kind of outfit. That kind of like this like cross lace here. But I'm still debating on that, and that'd be kind of a cool pinup. That's kind of more of a superhero pinup, but maybe I'll continue with that and do something with it. But for now, let's go ahead and do this one here. Right, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the inking process. So I like just using the pen that comes with the G pen. It's really awesome. It works really good for me, and I've tried other pens and downloaded them, and I like this pen. So I have the layer here that has the color on it, and the other one is for the you can see up here the superhero lady. I like to lock that layer just in case I don't want to accidentally draw on that layer, and then I'll make a new layer. And I usually color that one black just to know that it's, now it's black. See, so now that just shows me, okay, that's my inking layer. I like to zoom in a bit for my inking. And so she's wearing, some kind of either bathing suit bottom or something like that, no top. That's where there's a nudity. And so I'm going to start with this line right here. So when I want to draw this line, actually one thing I want to do, I'm going to unlock that really fast. I'm going to turn down the opacity a little bit because I don't need the opacity so high. Just makes it easier to see even though it is a different color. I like to start, and I'm going to use like a number 5 I think for this. This is actually pretty big. So in other words, I'm drawing much bigger as far as how big the overall image is. And hopefully you can kind of see my hand here drawing in the secondary camera. I just put my laptop and just face it down at what I'm doing here, and I'm just hoping that it kind of captures what I'm doing. Anyway, eventually I'll hook up my phone with the actual stand once I unpack it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so bump, bump, bump. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here with some inking, and I like to pick a decent sized brush for what I'm doing, so I like to test it first, like, okay, that works good. And when you're inking, you want to kind of use your whole arm, your whole arm. You don't want to use just like your wrist, whatever. And this is basic principles of drawing and sketching as well. And so I'm gonna imagine a line going from point A to point B, and I want to just kind of draw that line in there, and then boom, stop. Now, depending on the kind of style that you want, you can actually adjust, go in here to the tool settings here and adjust the stabilization. I just leave it stock. I like that. I like the way it works like that. So I'm going to do a little bit of stippling here and then come up to the hand. And that just means that I want it to not have a full line. Boom, like that. And then this is a little bit of the panty right here. I'm going to kind of color that in. And this right here is actually going to be her back, so I'm actually not going to do that part with the panty line, but I do want to show just like a little bit of dent here and here, just to show that it's like overlapping a little bit, like that. Next will be this line here. So let's say I want to go like light and then hard and then light again, and then from here light and then hard. That adds some variety to your line work, which I like. And if I turn this on, if you can see, like, what is that exactly? That's kind of like you try to look at it and try to figure out what that was. It'd be kind of difficult. But anyway, so I like doing that a lot, like having a thick line and a thinner line. And the next thing I like to think about too is I like to think about things that are overlapping each other. So I know this right here is overlapping that So I'm going to have this be thicker at first, and down here I can go thin, thick, thin. Oops. I need to move this a little bit. And this is a touch screen. So this is the 13 HD Touch Cintiq. I was actually looking at another brand besides Wacom, and there's actually a pretty cool brand. I can't remember the name of it right now. I think it's called Xpin or something. It looked like it was pretty good. I saw another guy do a review on it. I'm like, wow, that actually looks like a pretty good alternative. Now, this part here I want to actually show with thinner lines here like that. And this is showing so that's the crotch area, but I want to show that the panties basically are kind of like thinner right there in the front area. And for example here, the hand, since the hand is going over another object, it's like setting on top of another object, I want to kind of make all these lines a little bit thicker. At least for some parts of it, like all this side right here. This will be remember the light's coming from the right hand side, as you can see based on the shadowing I've already done. But because this object is going over another object, I like to kind of draw some of it thicker. And I'm going to just kind of lightly draw those lines there. And these are just like the shadow lines, where I'll be drawing and painting a different color. But having that, thicker lines there helps this object kind of stand out from what's underneath it. And then from here I'm going to have the stippling there. By stippling I mean like almost like a dotted line kind of. Just a couple little lines here and there. And that just kind of shows that part of the panty thing that's like a little bit thicker where it's sewn. The edge like that. And I might even do that right here as well. In this case, it could be panty or bikini bottoms. Probably be bikini bottoms. Probably make them black. I'm not sure yet. Maybe pink. Right, so that's a little bit about inking, my inking process. So I'm going to go ahead and push pause on the recording. I'm going to finish inking this really fast. I just want to show you just kind of like some basic principle ideas. I go more into inking in other videos and stuff, but maybe I'll show one more thing really quickly here. I like to, like right here, you have this like, I'm going to do a little bit of stippling right here, break up the line, then kind of draw this line thicker. And let's see, this is going to be the little bit of the chin, and the breast is going to come out here like so. And then I like to zoom in when I do detail work here. So, and I'm going to change the size of my brush a little bit so I don't have to go so lightly. Again, a lot of just like dot work there. Because I don't want I don't want too much detail with the pen work there, because a lot of that will be taken care of with the coloring. Alright, so now there's a couple of different approaches you can take here when it comes to the coloring of pinup. It really depends on the style that you're personally going for. Personally for me, I like using the ink brush first and kind of blocking in the colors, the main colors you're going to be using. And then going in, and I love using the transparency watercolor brush. Now, before we get started, there's one thing you want to do. You want to go to the transparency watercolor brush, and then you want to go to the settings on that brush. Now under brush size, click this little icon here. Brings up this little thing where it says pen pressure. Turn pen pressure off. Now that's my default that I like, so I usually like to lock that setting into place and then also save it. So that way the next time I open up the program, that brush is already going to be set like that. Now the difference it makes is when I now do my pressure is only going to be not the size of the brush, but just the opacity of the brush. And with the bigger brush, I'll show you what that looks like, kind of get a better idea here. So if I go like that, you notice it doesn't go from thin to thick. And this makes it really easy to color in your drawing. I've done that plenty of times before. I want to show you guys how to do color. I've noticed now the icons are up here rather than down here. I'm used to them being down here, but I actually like them up here better because down here they were harder to hit sometimes. And so I'll make a new layer. Now this new layer, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark it as red. This is what I usually do, or purple for coloring. It just depends on what colors associate in your brain, but usually I do one of those two colors. I'm going to go here, I'm going to lock my line layer if I don't accidentally draw on it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this ink brush. I'm going to use a decent sized pen here, not too big, but one I can easily hit the edges but be thin enough. And I'm going to show you how I do that really fast, how to block in colors. Let's say I want her leg here, and maybe I'll do something smaller like her arm here, or upper body. Oh, yeah, we'll do an upper body here. And so everything here that I want one color, I'm going to show you that. I'm going to use a skin color, which will be something like, let's say kind of a tannish color like that. And I'm going to add other colors to it later, but for now I just want this color. And what you do is you zoom in and you want to just go across the edges here. Now you're on the layer beneath the line work here. Not worried about, I know the nipple and all that's a different color, don't worry about that now. And this can even be black and white. I mean, it doesn't really matter, just as long as they're different colors. But I like to use the colors that I'm actually going to be using, so I can't mess it up. Now one thing, if you don't like doing, like I don't like doing lines this way, like it's really hard for my arm to do this. So what I do is I just take my fingers here, turn this, and bam, look at that. Now you're like, okay, that's cool, you got the awesome touchscreen. What if I don't have a touchscreen? Well, you can also use these right here to turn, and then you hit this middle one here to turn it back. Boom. And so that's a really helpful tool. I'm going to come right in here. And what this allows me to do is I'm going to be able to come here and select these different things. One thing I haven't figured out how to do yet on this program that you were able to do in Photoshop. In fact, I'm not even sure if you can still do it in Photoshop, but it was a really handy tool. You'd hit like Control Z, I think it was, and it would get rid of the ants, like when you have something selected. And that was a huge time, like not time saver, but just, I don't know, an annoyance saver, I guess. Because I really hated seeing the ants when I'm trying to color something. And I'm not sure if Manga Studio has something like that in it because I haven't looked yet. But if you know what that shortcut is, like in Photoshop, I think it was Control Z to make the ants disappear. I mean, the ants were still there, so the object you had selected is still selected. It would just make it to where the ants were invisible. Now the downside of that sometimes is you forget like that you have the invisible ants, and then you go try to color outside of it and you couldn't because you forgot that you made them invisible. But anyway, from here, the paint bucket tool. Notice I have the color gap checked and I have it all the way selected. I don't have it here. I have it all the way selected. Fill adjacent pixels. Color margin, I have the 15.7. You can change that. Everything else here I think is pretty standard and stock. Now all you have to do is hit it once, and sometimes it'll fill it in. But notice if I zoom in, sometimes you'll see there's still a white line. Hit it again, and usually that white line will go away. Like right here, this white line, and maybe a third time, fourth time. You hit it a few times, like 4 or 5 times, and then notice now everything's filled in. I don't have to go back in there and fill that in later. That's pretty much it. So now I'm going to go around, and everything I want to be a certain color, like her skin, I'm going to go in, I'm going to block in that way, and then hit the paint, click the paint bucket about 4 to 5 times. Depends how big your image is, how many times you have to do it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and show that in sped up motion now. Now if you go outside the lines like that, over here you see there's a transparency. Just click the transparency color, it turns it into an eraser, whatever tool you're using. Back to the color. And usually like the shadow, I preserve purple for shadow layer to make dark things, but anyway, it doesn't really matter what color this is because it's going to be changed. But this allows me to just easily select this area and not color anything. Alright, so now we got everything done. Now we can start doing the selection process and coloring all this in. Now you might want to make a copy of this layer because you spent all that time doing that. So I just hold it down with my pen, drag it up here, let go. Make that one invisible. This, just in case you really royally screw it up, you can always have a backup thing to go to just in case, because you spent all that time doing that. Might as well have it there just in case. At this moment, I would also recommend going to File and save the file as something. It's always good to save in between because you don't want to lose all your work. It sucks when that happens. Now, at this point, there's two different ways I can go about this. If I want it to be more of like a watercolor look, I can still get that, but I still like to come in and make the shadow colors a slightly darker and different color, and then I can come in and work that later. So it's gonna be the same process, same principle. I'm just gonna change those colors, and so I'm gonna take this color here by holding down the Alt key. I'm gonna slightly alter it, but make it a little more saturated and a little bit darker. And then I'm going to change the color wheel just a little bit, make it a little bit more red. And I'm going to come in here, I'm going to select all this. This is where I want it to all be shadowed. So the exact same principle as before, but now I'm just going in where all the shadow is. Like so. Alright, so for those that don't know, this is Neil, best-selling author for How to Draw Awesome Figures, which you can find on Amazon. I recommend the paperback version. The Kindle version looks a little bit strange, but anyway, if you have a good viewer where you can zoom in, then it's fine. And then also I have tons of courses on Udemy. I'm the top paid art instructor on Udemy, and you can check out those courses and the sales in those courses on my site. So if you want to make sure you get the best price possible, go to masterpaintingnow.com. I also have tons of other free tutorials here on YouTube, like over 600 of them. All right. All right, so one thing I'm going to do right here is check this out. So let's see if I get that. Hopefully, I don't know what kind of angle you guys are even seeing this at. It's probably horrible, huh? Anyway, so I went ahead and did a slightly darker color here for the shadow of the arm there, and then I'm going to go ahead and put Alt and pick this color here. I just want to show this really quickly. Let's go ahead and make the shadow for the panties and or bikini. I haven't really decided what it is yet. And there's going to be a shadow right here. I'm going to go a little bit darker than that color. And this right here is going to be the shadow for the rest of the hand. This has to be a different color than the arm. So basically, that makes the arm stick out more 3D. Now someone's going to ask me, now right now it looks like cell shading. Don't worry, this is going to look really cool when we're done. You can actually make this look like a watercolor, but this is the base for what you do. Now, what's really cool about this is that there's so many different, like once you have this base down, there's so many different things you do. Anyway, a question I often get asked me is, how do you know like the shape of the shadow? How do you know like where the shadows, like all these shadows, how do I know the shapes of these shadows and where they should go and how they should look? That all comes from understanding form. And you can learn all about that in my drawing course on my website, which will take you to the Udemy. If you want to go to my website to get the discount, otherwise you're going to be paying a lot more for it. And you can get it for like 15 bucks or whatever it is, or 10 bucks on my website right now and sell. So go to masterpaintingnow.com. The link is in the description of this video. And then check out how to draw and paint comics. I know it sounds like it's for comics only, but it's really not. The first part of the course, which is a big chunk of it, is all about the fundamentals of drawing in general, for illustration, for master paintings. You know, if you wanted to do some like awesome painting that would like stand the test of time, classical painting, classical drawing. It's really the foundation for anything, whether it's drawing cars or people or buildings. You have to know the fundamentals of shape, of form, that is, the 3D, how to make things look 3D, how to shade them, how lighting works, you know, like perspective, all that stuff. So the beginning of the course goes through all that basic stuff, which is the basis for any kind of drawing. It's an absolutely must know, and then you'll be able to do this from your imagination. Anyway, you know, when you do like something like this from imagination, though, it sometimes takes some time of drawing and redrawing and redrawing and redrawing. If you had some sort of reference, it makes it much easier to get the shadowing down. But sometimes it's hard to find a reference that fits exactly what you're going for, unless you use like a 3D reference, which isn't always accurate. But it's pretty accurate for shadows usually, though, for the basic idea of shadows. But anyway, so just keep that in mind. And if you want to learn how to do that, that's how you do that. But I just know that, okay, the light's hitting her arm, this part's lit up, it's gonna have shadow on one part of the arm, the part of the arm that's turned away from the light, but also it's gonna drop a cast shadow. And so I want to look at anything that is, I'm going to pick this color again, anything that is overlapping another object. I got to think about, okay, where would the cast shadow be, based on where the light is on, where the light's coming from. So in this case, it's going to be like that. The leg's overlapping the arm a little bit, so it might be a little bit of a cast shadow here. I'm going to kind of make it 3D like. And the cast shadow would typically probably get a little bit darker right there, so I'm going to just go a little bit darker right here. Okay. And also I think that the shadow that's hidden, like some objects that are hidden away, like this is being covered more by the legs and stuff, so it's being hidden deeper in there, would be darker as well. And this is all going to be also darker, except for maybe like a little bit of that side right there. There might be some light hitting that part of it, of her crotch area from underneath, like bounce light. And then I'm going to kind of go like this here. And then we have a little bit of the butt crack, and actually, you know what, the light's going to hit that, so let's go like this. I forgot to actually think about this part when I was doing the sketching. That's fine, sometimes you miss stuff. And you come back in, you can add it in this section. The light's going to be hitting all right here, so that's why I didn't put the shadow there, because it's like it goes like this, and it goes back like that, right? So when you have something that's shaped like that and the light's coming from over here, it hits there, hits there, hits, it lights all this up, but then it has a shadow on the hump part of it, this side of it here, but then light hits over here again, so. And that might be, depending on the angle of the light, there could be a slight drop shadow, but in this case the light's kind of coming from above as well. But if it was coming directly from the side, then this shadow would look different, and then there'd be a little bit of shadow over here as well, like that, before the light actually hit again. So you just got to think about angles. Anyway, I talk all about that in my course, so if you're interested in it, check it out. Okay, so I think that's all the shadow I want on that. Right now, here's actually where I could have right away, because on this layer I should have did this on a separate layer, the shadows, but anyway, and then put them together. But I can take this tool now, and yeah, and then I can select that color. I can also go to color selection and select all that color gamut. So that way that would go to selection, and then just hit the color that I want to select, and do it that way. Then I can also add plus. Add the colors into it. That way the whole entire hair is selected. And this is the part that, if you know how to do it, please let me know. How to get rid of the dancing ants so I can not see them while I'm working. And I know how to do it in Photoshop, but I'm not sure if it's even possible to do in this program. It might not be. So I'm just adding a little bit of dark parts here and there to the hair, and kind of adding some overall form. A lot of this I'll probably end up just getting rid of and doing with the actual painting itself, so I don't know why I'm going through all this trouble, honestly. So yeah, let's go ahead and just start painting it. Right, so when I paint stuff, like I said, I like using the transparent watercolor tool, and it's on that setting I had it set on before. I'm going to kind of fade this in a little bit. I'm going to kind of add this darker color here and there, and it kind of fades some of this that's already there in, and this is like why I could like kind of add some of that darkness. You can actually add some more darker colors as well, just kind of like press hard and then add that in there. I think there's another thing, color stretch. I don't think I like that on the if I remember correctly. I'm just going to, yeah, okay, that's the main thing I think what I usually change on the brush. So I can still kind of, yeah, I can still do that with it, but it's going to get rid of that one aspect of it that I don't like. I'm out of paint. Let me see if I can turn that up a little bit. There we go. There, that's... Forgot my settings for this brush. I might have to open up my other program and see. And now I'm going to go for the highlight. And so the highlight color, just kind of push this in here. And I might even kind of go a little bit more orange with it. This, I'm just going to add a little bit of this. This goes a long way. This is just to add some color variation. Another thing I like to do for color variation, and another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add just a few little highlights of bright red in here. And what this does is it kind of makes the whole hair look a lot more brighter. And it only takes a few little lines here and there, and suddenly, bam, you have this hair that looks really, really red. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of purple. Desaturated purple, almost grayish purple. You can see it comes up, notice how gray that is, but it comes up really, it shows up really like purplish because it's so much different of a color. And I'm actually making it even more gray and desaturated. But adding these little bit of color variations can, give you, I like it at least. And I'm going to take my airbrush tool, make sure I go to normal here. And I'm going to add in a kind of more reddish brown here and kind of just make this a big brush here. And just kind of make the colors kind of all, I kind of got away with too much purple there. So that gives me a base color. And now I'm going to go back in with this tool here. And sometimes I have to go back and forth between these two tools. So adding in that kind of like darker color here. I can add some shadow here and there within the hair. And if I want to fade any of this, I can come back in with that other brush and fade it. So like say like this for example, I'm going to make this all nice and like heart shaped. I can then take my watercolor brush here and just kind of lightly go over that, and it kind of fades it in a little bit. So if I don't want any hard lines right there, I can get rid of them. Now before I actually add in the bright lines, what I like to do is I like to take my airbrush and I like to have it, and I use the soft one, which already default doesn't have the transparency under the thing. So I'm going to go to add glow, and I'm very lightly with a big brush just kind of hit some of these parts where I want the highlights hitting. And this almost makes it look like lights coming through, which I like the hair, because hair is kind of transparent, and so it kind of gives that illusion there. Go back to my hard brush here, and this one I'm going to add some like really hard highlights, and I want the highlights to be more toward the golden, like so. And I'm just going to add, I'm going to use even a smaller brush than that. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of highlights onto the hair here. This is where I want, I might even add some highlights to different parts of the hair here and there. At this point I could actually get rid of the thing altogether. And this is where like light's coming through the hair. So this isn't, light isn't like hitting the hair right here directly, but it's coming through from the other side of the hair. And that's why I'm just kind of going across like that. And this gives the illusion that it's kind of coming through it. I'm going to go ahead and deselect it because I don't need that selected anymore. And maybe I'm going to take my airbrush tool here one more time, turn down the size. What size is it set to now? Let's go down to 100. Maybe with this color just kind of hit just a little bit right there. Just got to barely hit it though. Hit it too hard and it's going to look like too much. And then I might even go here and go with a slightly brighter color with my ink pen and just hit a couple of these little spots right here so I can just show that those have different. Now if you want to do like the kind of manga look, you can do that too. And how to do the manga look is you would like, I'll just show down here for example. Let's say I want it kind of a yellowish color. I would take a spike here and I'd kind of go like this, and this is kind of how manga does it. Cross like that, and after I have it like that, I would zoom in and I would take the airbrush, and you can do it on glow or maybe not on glow, maybe on soft light or something like that, something not so, or even overlay, and then just make the brush a little bit bigger than what you have here, and you go over it, and maybe a little bit bigger, and you go over it like that, and that's going to give you that look. And that, maybe that's not enough, so let's go back to here, and instead of soft light, let's go to overlay or even hard light. You can also go to normal, but this usually has that more manga look to it like that. And as you can see, it gives that kind of manga glow to the hair. And if you want to, you can go over it again with a lighter color. So same idea, just a little bit lighter, and hit it one more time. You can also make it a little bit bigger if you want more, like that. And then if you want to, you can even hit a couple parts of it with add glow. You just don't want to use add glow too much, but you can just add a couple little parts here, like so. And bam, now you have that more kind of like manga look where it's very, very shiny. But that's not the look I'm going for, so I'm going to undo all that, and bam. Okay, so now our hair is done. So when you work this way, you can see you can add all kinds of different styles to what you're working with. Just depends on what brushes you use to mix and blend everything together. And I'm hoping that this is still, hopefully she's showing up good. The next thing is I'm going to select her skin tone color and work on that. I'm going to go to selection, select color gamut. First I'm just going to select I can use this brush too, but I'm going to just select the regular color, and then I'm going to select that dark color as well, because I want all the skin selected. And you can do this on separate layers. There's different ways to do it, but that gives me enough to work with here, just so I don't go out of the lines really easily. You can also just, go right into it. But so let's look at her arm here, for example. So if I take my transparent brush here with the transparent watercolor, I want to select the color I want to blend. So either the light color or the dark color, depending on how I want to blend this. So I'm going to just lightly go ahead and blend this in here. Now I'm going to show another style you can do this in. And sometimes I do like little circles, and I just lightly touch it, and I kind of blend in. And I'm going to be adding other colors to her skin as well, because that way she doesn't look muddy. But first you're going to kind of do this muddy look first. Once that muddy look is all blended in, then we'll come in. I'm going to use a slightly bigger brush for some of these areas. Actually, even bigger than that. When you first blend, you want to make sure to kind of use bigger brushes. So for certain parts, at least, the parts that are bigger, use the brush accordingly. So in this case, I don't want it to be too blended there, so I'm going to kind of. You gotta just think how much do you want to blend out the color, and so. Now, if I wanted to kind of have that more like watercolor look to it, I can use different brushes. Like they have these, running edge watercolor and things like that. Also, I have some brushes I downloaded, which are in Japanese, which I can't read, but this is way too big of a brush. Let's undo that. You can kind of set two colors to it, and it kind of adds those two colors together, and this kind of gives you like this kind of different look altogether. As you can see, as I'm blending these colors together, it gives a very different look. And I can use that color, and then I can use like slightly more red, let's say, and it's going to blend those two colors together as I'm blending. And I can kind of blend these together like that, and I can go soft and kind of blend them together on the edges, but it just gives it a different slightly different look. I can actually come to the edge here and kind of blend that in. And blend it in like that. So first I push hard, then I push light. That's how I'm doing that. So right now I'm going to go back over this really lightly. Like that. Push hard and push light. That's one. There's this other one here too. And let's use a little bigger of a brush here. Press hard and then press light. And these are free downloads. So if you get the new Clip Paint Studio, they come, these brushes actually just go into the resources on the thing that it comes with now, and then you can go to popular brushes, and I don't know, that's how I sorted it out, and I found these brushes. I'm like, hey, these are actually kind of cool. Usually I just stick with the core brushes, but I actually like them. So this, as you can see, that gives you a really different look than if you were to just go use the standard brush. But anyway, I really like the standard transparent watercolor brush, how I have, with the settings I have it set to for blending. And this just allows me to come here and just give a nice, just fairly lightly touching it. I can also use the darker color if I wanted to blend it out the other way. So if I want more shadow, then I can use the darker color. And like that, I'm going to leave some of it hard, some of it soft. But as you can see, I just lightly, quickly go over it, and bam, it gives me that nice, smooth kind of look to the blending. This gives you more of a painterly feel to it. It does mix in other colors too that are around it, so keep that in mind. With the hands, I kind of don't want too much blending, so I'm going to use a much smaller brush. I'm just going to come right on the edge like that. I don't want it like totally hard edged because I don't want it to look too cartoonish, but I don't want it too blended out either, so using a smaller size brush fixes that problem really easy, where you can easily come in here and kind of just blend out the edges, especially where the shadow overlaps. I don't want that to be thick or nice. I don't want it to be really hard edged, so I'll come back in more of that later. I'm going to get rid of this now because I don't need the. I know how to stay well within my lines without. I'm working with such a small brush right now. It's not that hard. So all this right here, I'm gonna grab some of this. I'm gonna kind of blend some of this color into it. I'm just kind of pushing up, and it grabs it. Notice how it takes that color right next to it and just pushes up into it. And don't worry, I'll be going through the lips and changing their color. For now, I want this kind of muddy look for right now, and I'll come in and change the muddy look after. I'm gonna go and grab this darker color here right now. I'm gonna add some more. Like that. I don't want too much, and this just kind of gives me that kind of more painterly look as well. Just kind of fading this out a little bit. And I'm actually going to take this out underneath here, so hopefully you guys can see this a little better. I'm trying to see on there if you guys can see. Again, I want to blend out this right here just a little bit so it's not a hard line. So I'm just very lightly touching it. I kind of blend some of that in as well. Okay, so I think all the skin's pretty well blended. And now it's just a matter of going in and adding different colors. And this is where it would have helped if I would have kept it on a separate layer. But what's cool is, remember, I did keep this right here. Now what's awesome about this, I can go to Selection, Color Gamut, make sure I have that layer selected. Now I can select just that one color, and bam, now I have that selection. Then I can go back to this layer here, make that one invisible. Now I have just that selected, so I'm not going to go outside the lines. That's why it's good to keep that back up. Alright, so from here, I want to add a lot of different colors. So first thing is, I'm going to come in here and change the eye color. So I want that almost white on the inside of the eyes. But one of the mistakes I think people make is they use pure white, which is not something, oops. I'm going to use I have my colored pencil set to where it's just big and not, I can't draw thin lines. I can only draw, let me make sure I have it set that way. I think I do. Oops. Brush size, click this little down arrow here. Oh, pin pressure, that should be off. So I guess I didn't save it. So I'm going to try saving it this time. And then hopefully that's, relock it again, so hopefully now it doesn't change. So you don't want to use pure white. That's a mistake people make, and that's what makes eyes look fake, is when you go pure white. And in fact, I might even make this one add a little bit of shadow on the top here, like that, so that way it's not like pure white. The lips, I'm trying to decide what color I want the lips right now. Now one kind of trick you can do when you're coloring lips is you can go to the airbrush tool here and go to either multiply or soft light or overlay and change the color that way. So I can go to overlay, for example. Let's say I want the lips more reddish. Add that kind of red color and come right in here and just lightly come over all this color. Notice it's only making it the color that was there. So the part that was lighter is lighter, part was darker is darker, which is pretty cool. And so now I have lips that are different color. Now I can go in and take my actual color brush here and I can start adding some actual color here. I'm going to come down here to the dark. I don't know why I did that. Add just a little bit of shadow here on this part of the lip, like so. Let's add just a little bit of shadow right here to this part of the lip. And then I'm going to add some highlights here, which will be, I don't know why it keeps doing that. I'm going to go almost white with it, and I'm going to go with the ink brush here, make it nice and white. Add some other white right there, might be a little white here and here. Yeah, 2 dots is too many. Just 1 dot there. Now I'm going to go to my inking layer, unlock it, and I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to go to transparency. I'm going to get rid of this in here. Looks better without it. And I can go in and I can start getting rid of all these lines like this one too as well. Some of these lines just aren't necessary. So you can come in if you want to. They were only there for me to know where to go, so I can come and erase them all. Slightly bigger brush here and just make it faster. I want to get rid of all of the lines, but some of these lines are just unnecessary to be in the drawing anymore. And it's all a matter of personal preference. Sometimes I leave them there because it gives a certain look to the finished piece. But in this case, I don't think I want any of them there, so I'm going to go ahead and just erase them really fast. Sometimes on the fingers I like to leave a little bit of them because it looks kind of cool. Alright, so now it's a matter of just adding some color to the skin. So I like to add surrounding colors and colors that are already in the painting. Now I haven't decided what color I want the background or not yet. I'll probably just do like kind of a pinkish watercolor background. But I might want to decide that first because that might decide on what I know already though I need to just add basic colors, so let's go and do that first. So first thing I'm going to do is take my brush here, get kind of a warmer color. It's on overlay right now. Slightly bigger brush. I'm just going to slightly come in here and change some colors. And now, oh wait, hold on a second. What's going on here? Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. I was on the line layer still. And I'm just going to add a little bit like to the knuckles and to the tips of the fingers here. This is exaggeration, but looks pretty cool. And then I'm going to come in here and just lightly, actually for this I'm going to add more of a purplish. This is probably just a little bit too much though. Like a little too purple. What I mean by a little much, but that's alright. I come in, I can blend it. I might even come down here and make it a little bit less like that. But it just adds color variety. Like having color variety in your skin is really what adds more. It's how you get rid of the muddy look. And it kind of makes it look cooler. Next we'll be adding some highlight colors, but for now I'm just going to add this kind of purple in here. And that looks pretty cool, I think. I don't want to overdo it, but I said, it does get rid of the muddiness. Alright, next thing is adding the highlights. So the opposite is going to be true now, and we're going to go with kind of an orangish color. And if I leave it on this kind of color I have it on, it should be fine. And I'll add just a little bit of yellowness to the skin here and there. This is going to help with the, I'm going to kind of go over some of the shadow as well. And that's a little bit too yellow. I can always change it though by going back in with different color. Let me think about this for a second. I'll go with soft light. I'm going to add kind of a regular skin color here now. Nope, soft light does the same thing. It's not what I want. I don't want too yellow. So I'm going to go back here to where a few stages here. And I do want a little bit of yellow to the skin. I just don't want that much yellow. So I'm going to come like this. Now I have it on soft light, so that won't be quite as harsh and noticeable. But it does add a little bit of yellow here and there. Okay, now I'm going to go with a really bright color. And this is going to be where I add highlights. Like so, okay? And now I'm going to come in with my paintbrush and make it sure it's a big enough brush here. And this is where I'm going to add in actual highlight colors. And actually I'm going to use my colored mechanical, colored pencil brush here. This way I have more control over exactly what color's hitting where. So as you can see now, I'm just trying to add like right, where would the main highlight of this stuff be at? And this is where you get more into painting. So as you can see, that that base kind of look that I started with, I could have like, there's so many different styles I could have stopped at. I could have stopped at just like more of a comic-y look, or I could have made it look more like watercolor. There's all kind of things I could have done, but in this case I decided to go with more a slightly painterly look here. And then I might even I think I got rid of too much of that shadow right there, so I'm going to add some of that back. Like that, boom. And here's where you can come in, you can actually add, desaturated purples and stuff like that, and just come in here and just add just a little bit of those colors. And it really does make it to where the painting has less, or the coloring has less, oops, that's still too much there. Just adds a little more color and variety, and if you want that kind of more painterly look to it, this is typically the color. I can also go with like a pink, kind of like here. I'm going to go thin. And this is going to be like a secondary note to the shadows, like a secondary lighting. It's just going to kind of make the form kind of stick out a little bit and adds just a little bit extra variety. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to end up having this kind of color here, I think, be in the background, kind of a pinkish. And there you go, kind of adds a coolness factor there. Right, there you go. Alright, next is I'll go ahead and take this off and do the nipple here. And this is all going to be done with this paintbrush tool and the pen tool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some more flesh tone color here. Like that. And I'm going to add a slightly more pinkish color. And then I'm going to add some highlights. I think the highlight would be like right about there. there like that. And then, let's see here, soft light. The whole thing a little more pinkish. And then if I want to look a little bit more like wet, kinda, I can really go in here with a small brush and add just some very, very small detail highlights. Like so. Just makes it pop a little bit more. And then I can also add maybe just a little bit of shadow. I think I'm going to do with this brush instead. And I can actually take more bluish or even reddish for some of this. And I think right here where the color changes, I want to add a little bit of, I'm going to use soft light again on this brush, and I'm going to go a little bit more red. I definitely want a bigger brush. That just makes the transition where the shadow transitions over to the skin is typically warmer right on that transition part. So I want that to show. That's typically the warmest part of the body, is right where that transition the shadow goes into skin. It also breaks up that muddiness look more as well. If you look at photos, you'll see that is true. I like to exaggerate it, but general idea is there. A little more red on the nose. I think I might, I don't know. I'm debating whether or not, yeah, I think I might have the top part of that lip be a little more red. Like so, I'll have that bottom color be hitting it with a little highlight. And if I really want to add this kind of like, I don't know, like manga likes to do this kind of thing, almost like a white color, you kind of add this couple little highlights where you want, like that, let's say. And then you would go back with your airbrush tool and set it just a little bit bigger and add a little bit of blur to it like that. You could have it with soft light, you do hard light maybe. Notice it almost like glows, has like this sparkling glow color. Now I think that's a little overdue, like there's just too much highlight there on the nipple, but you get the idea. And then you can always go back in and take some of these colors and kind of get rid of some of that. You just have a couple parts where it's highlighted. And you can do that any part of the skin. Let's say I wanted it to really show like her butt or something is really like glowing or lit up. I can take a brighter color here and I can add, actually I need to go even lighter than what's already there. Let's go down and do that. Let's take that color and make it even lighter. And then kind of come down like that. And then you can take the airbrush tool, make sure it's bigger than what it is here, and adds just a little bit of glow to it. And that, you know, makes it look like it's more like it's glowing. You can probably have to make this a little bit bigger, but you get the idea. And you kind of get that kind of glow look. You can make it thinner or thicker. Just depends if you want to make it look like it's wet or anyway. I don't want that there though, but you get the idea. I might actually take this though and just add a little bit of like highlights of some part of this, like that's part of the hand right there. Just a couple little parts here and there where I think the light might be hitting a little bit more. Normally I'd kind of stick with more of a yellow color for this one, but I'm going to go like this. There we go, cool. Might even lighten that up just a little bit right there. That's right here as well. There we go. Alright, so we're almost done now. Now what I like to do is select the blue color, and I can do the same thing for the shoes as I did here. I can go to this layer and then select color gamut, and it should select all the blue because I'm on the other layer. And then I can go like that. And we go to the panties and or like I said, I don't know if they're panties or bikini bottoms, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. Just going to kind of fade that in just a little bit like that. Again, I don't want that totally hard look. Now from here, I can just literally just I'm going to take my airbrush tool here, and I'm going to just add kind of the light color here, which is going to be kind of that kind of sun color, and then I'm going to add kind of like a red, and then maybe a little bit of like purplish. That's too much purple. Just lightly hit it, just to add a little color variation, but the ultimate color is it's still kind of like, yeah. And if I want them to look more like see-through, what I can do is where the highlights are is I can take my pencil brush here, make sure it's on a bigger brush. I can take the color of the skin that's right there next to it, and I can kind of just put it right on top of it. And what that does is it kind of makes it look like they're kind of almost see-through a little bit. And I mean, you don't want it on the actual rim part. Like anyway, you just want it like right here, for example, just where it's like really close to the skin there, and kind of showing through, but not on the seam part. And that kind of makes it more see-through. But anyway, then you can add some highlights over it and things like that. But I'm not going to do all that. I just going to go basic like this. Right now, finally, let's go ahead and do this here. I'm going to select this color. It's kind of blending this. Now these, I'm not going to blend this as much because they're more like a harder, not like metal, but more like, you know, leather, plastic or something. So they're going to have harder lines to them. Now I'm literally just going to take my airbrush tool here, and I'm just going to add that kind of yellow highlight tool. And right now I'm on hard light, so I might even, actually I'm going to leave it on hard light. It looks cool. And this just adds us a little bit of highlight there. Boom, makes them kind of shiny. Now I'm going to take kind of a reddish color here for the shadow, just so it doesn't look all like one tone, like so. There you have it. So that's one way you can color pinups. And then the shadow I'm going to work on now. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. Actually, first I'm going to do the background. So let's decide what color background I want here. So that's where the shadow's at. And actually, I already know part of what the shadow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my airbrush tool here. I'm going to go to normal. I'm going to turn it to opacity here, make sure it's a big brush. And I'm going to just kind of fade it out on the edge here like that, so the shadow just goes from light to dark like that. And then I'm going to go to the line tool here and just totally erase that. So, oops. Don't want to erase all the lines. Just shadow lines. There we go. I can zoom in more and get more careful with it. Alright, there you go. I think that's good enough. Alright, so I can also change the color of the shadow by holding down the control on the keyboard and selecting right here on the shadow layer, and just, well, I guess I put too much of it out, so it's not really going to work that way now. Anyway, the shadow is there by itself. I'm going to select that. I'm going to select the shadow layer now. Go back to something like overlay. I'm going to just kind of change it with some different colors. So let's go back to color here, and we'll use this kind of red color right here at first. Then we'll kind of maybe use kind of a blue color. There we go. So now the shadow has some variety to it. Finally is the background. So in this case I don't want too much background, but I do want a little bit of background. That's going to be underneath that layer. Make a new layer here. And I'm just going to color this for right now as, I don't know, background. We'll just make it blue. And I'm going to use that one color. Now this is the downloadable brush. So you can use other brushes that come with. I think these came with the. Yeah, it looks like these come with it. So you can use something like this right here to add like different, you know, like spattered look to it. And I would make a really huge brush, like bigger than the whole thing. And you can kind of just add some speckle spatters to the background. And never actually used this brush before, so, but I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. Something like that there. Now I'm going to go with the brush I've downloaded, because this makes really cool backgrounds. And I'm going to make it really big here at first. Now this two-tone brush, so I'm going to use kind of more of a reddish color here. And for the secondary color, I'm going to go with this kind of nice fuchsia pink. If I can find fuchsia on here, something like that, but not too. I don't want this to be too much either, so something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Now this is a really big file, so brushes like this sometimes are slow. Yeah, that's really laggy. So I got to turn down the size a little bit. It's because I'm recording, doing a lot of different stuff, and then this is a huge file. So what I could do is, once I know that I like it, I'm not gonna ever print this out. I mean, I like it, but it's not something I'm ever gonna print, so I don't need to have a print size. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take the actual size of my thing, make sure I have enough room for my masterpaintnow.com, give it a good composition, something around like that. Edit. I'm gonna go ahead and crop this here. Now I'm gonna go to change image resolution. Right now you can see on pixels it's pretty quite big, so I'm going to turn this down to only like 1500. And actually, you know what, I don't even need that big actually. That's the height, so I'm going to go height 1000. I think that's about as big as it needs to be. And then I can go over this little button over here, puts back to 100%. Cool, so that's a good size for online. Let's go back to that brush again. Now you can see it allows me to blend and mix this much easier now, because it's not so big. It's also mixing with the background colors. If you haven't noticed that yet, I'm going to kind of push harder now. And this will add some of the other colors there. Let's go even smaller brush now so I can start adding some variety. But this just allows you kind of have this kind of like sort of abstract look to the background. And I kind of want this kind of pink behind her more. And I think I might even go with even more hotter. There we go. Like so. Then I'm going to use this other watercolor brush now. Now what this is allowing me to do is, I want it more saturated behind her where she's at, and less saturated as we get out here to the edges, and different saturated colors, but more saturated colors around her. It makes her kind of pop out more too, because that pink is kind of different than everything that she is, except for her hair. Kind of like, I'm thinking for the hair I might have to use a different color, so, or even like something crazy, as if green's really that crazy, but it really kind of, nah, not like the green. There we go. I'm just going to kind of fade that around here in the background with the pink. Those two colors are good together anyway. Something like that. I might even add this color up here as well. There we go. And that makes her pop out, makes her skin pop out more. Now if I wanted to, I could go, now notice I added some of that pink into her skin, but if I wanted to, I could go and add that color, the same color, to her body. So one way to do that is I can make a copy of this layer by dragging it to the new layer icon. I'm going to drag this above everything, including the line layer, and then I'm going to just turn the opacity down and until you get what you like. Now if you don't want it to like kind of make it look foggy, you could actually turn it up more, and you can just change this to things like soft light or something like that. Now you can see it's altering all the color a little bit, and you can decide how much you want that color to be altered or not. That's on, off, as you can see. So it also changes the background a little bit too, but I like how it adds more variety, more color variety to her skin, so it kind of makes it all kind of blend together more. And there you have it, folks. Manually doing a zoom thing here. And then finally, I like to sign my work, so I remember when I did it, I like to date it as well. I used the ink brush for this. I put on a smaller pen, black. Depends on the background. If the background was darker, then I would do a different color, but Okay, forgot I'm on the wrong. Let's do on the ink layer. I'm going to do even smaller brush. Actually, I don't like doing that no more. So there we go, 2017. That way I remember when I did it. And I'm just debating whether or not I like her nipple or not. I think it's fine for a cartoonish type style. This is more, so it's more of a cartoonish style, but you can see, look how her skin no longer looks muddy. Whereas before, if you just look at the cell shading, for example, oh, there's no cell shading there. That's just flat. But anyway, with the cell shading, it's kind of cool too. You can stop at cell shading. But if you want to just kind of take it next level, you can do like something like this, and I think it looks cool. And it's not much more work than doing the cell shading. That is, when I just had the two tones there and blended it, it looked muddy. When it's just two tones with sharp lines, it looks kind of cool. So, you know, if you're going to blend it, make sure to add other colors into the skin so it's not all just one color, because one color looks boring. When you have multiple colors inside, the skin ultimately looks like skin colors still, but there's all kinds of colors in there, as you can see. As long as the main color remains, it's going to look like that color. Like look at this, still looks blue, right? But there's all these different colors in here that aren't blue. But ultimately, the color, the main color, the dominant color there is what the brain's going to read it as, and so you'll see it as blue. And there you have it. So yeah, that's my process of doing pinups. Let's see what the whole thing looks like that. I think you can hit tab on the keyboard and kind of get rid of some of the stuff, but it doesn't really help much. Yeah, so if you guys want to see the full size of this thing, I'm going to put it on my DeviantArt account. And for those that don't know what my DeviantArt account is, I probably should put on my channel, my YouTube channel. I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think it's on there anywhere. But yeah, so I should probably go and link to that. Alright, hey, if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to ask them in the comments below, and I'll try to get around to answering those. So, trying to see if this thing is even still recording. Is it? That took a long time to change. Hopefully that was recording all that. I only know that you guys can see my hand moving, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, if you guys have any questions, can't talk. Feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I appreciate it. And hey, do me a favor, if this helped you at all and you enjoyed it, do me a favor and leave a comment and also share it. So hit that share button or just copy and paste the link, however you like to do it. Share with your favorite social networks, because if you enjoyed it, there's a good chance that other people enjoyed it too. And it looks like it's not even recording me right now. I'm just going to assume that it's recording me, even though it looks like it's not. All right, again, thanks for watching.